Welcome to another episode of Behind the Needle. I am your host, Mike Lemieux. I am the founder of a marketing agency specifically for med spas where we get them new customers and they don't have to do anything other than treat the patients after. We're talking to the leads, we're booking them for the clinics, and they love it. So I'm here today with Danielle LeBlanc, and she created Luer Aesthetics. But she says, when I'm speaking to people that don't know French, I just say lure because I lured you in. And I said, I like the name of that. So le mieux means something in French too, which we just discovered, or Danielle just discovered, but we have that in common. We both have some French stuff there. Anyways, I'm really excited to have you on today, Danielle, because I think that what you have done and the amount of time that you have done it is very impressive, not just from being a mom who has built her own business and as an aesthetic injector who is a CRNA before that, but you're also a national trainer. You're sought after actually by clinics across the globe, is what I understand. And that is very impressive. So I wanted to have you on here to talk about the real stuff that people don't always see on Instagram about what it's like to own your own clinic, to still show up as a great mom, to travel and speak and train and do all the things that you're doing because it's inspiring. Truly, it's inspiring to me. And I know that it's inspiring to a lot of other people, and they will feel empowered, I believe, by listening to what you have to say. I'm really stoked that you're here. So thank you for being on today.
Well, thank you. It's truly an honor.
Thank you. So we'll start it off. You became a CRNA. You
hmm
went to school for all of that. You became a CRNA. And how long were you doing that before you had the idea of entering into aesthetics?
7 years. Yeah, 7 years.
7 years. And what was happening in your mind? Did you see other people who were aesthetic injectors and they liked what they were doing? You had conversations about it. How did you get into the field?
So actually, it never even crossed my mind. I thought this was a pretty shallow field, to be honest. Um,
Oh,
and then I'm one of those people who gets kind of bored easily, and if
mm,
I'm being honest. And so, as a CRNA, I tried to keep challenging myself, did heart, did vascular, neuro, OB. And then when I felt like, okay, I was like, I've got this, at least at my facility, I went 1099 to make myself purposely uncomfortable, and see if I could just walk into a place, not know what I'm doing, not know the surgeons, not know where anything is. Can I do that?
yeah.
And when I was scared, I mean, I was so, because I'm like, well, I'm a cardiac CRNA. I like things like, and so walking into a place and I don't know anything, and usually these places are a hot mess, was just so, it was nice. I showed myself I could do something that was outside of my comfort zone. So I did
Yeah.
that for a while, started retrained on all my blocks, started doing my own blocks everywhere, my own pre-ops, my own post-ops, getting calls from surgeons all the time if I needed to approve a case or cancel a
hmm
case. Um, so I did that, and then I was kind of getting bored again. And
mm.
so an anesthesiologist, actually, believe it or not, approached me about doing this on the side with him. And so I went and took a
Because he
course
was going to open up his own med
because
spa.
he moved here and he had been
Okay.
doing that through residency and
Okay.
continued to do it
Oh,
on the
wow.
side. And so he moved here and he joined our practice and
Huh.
needed somebody to help him out and do it on the side with him. So I took a course, and uh, with fellow CRNA actually.
Mm.
Shout out to Beautify, and just she was like, I'll never forget. Kelly Herman's like, if you do not go home and start doing this, She's like, I'm gonna kick your ass when you come back. I was like, got it. And I
Okay.
started doing stuff,
Was she
and it just,
really quick? Was she serious when she said that? Were you like
I mean, she
nervous?
just was like, yeah, she knew I was nervous, and she was like, you are gonna be good.
Yeah.
I want you to go do this.
How did they
And
know? Were you asking questions and you were inquisitive about things?
it
How did they know
was
you
a
were going to be good?
hands-on. It was all
Huh.
hands-on.
Yeah.
hmm
So they were just
And
watching you with the
mhm.
patients or whatever you was involved with the training and they're like, oh, wow, she's okay. That makes sense.
Yes. And so I came back and I started treating, like friends, the nurses that I worked with, things like that. And it just became like something I was like, I'm good at this. And
Yeah.
I enjoy it. And like
Yeah.
it's actually like, seeing people, like they're just happy and seeing them get more confident. I was like, it's nice, instead of anesthesia, I put you to sleep and then usually don't see you again. Um, so, which is also kind of nice sometimes. Sometimes I wish I could do that to people, but so it's a good yin and yang. I still do anesthesia, so I get both worlds.
Yeah.
And so I started being like, I can do this, and doing things out of a surgery center or out of people's houses. It just felt like kind of ghetto. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I don't ever do anything half in or half assed. So I was like, I'm going to get a place. And so I opened this little small brick and mortar and started seeing patients. And then it just steadily was growing and growing until it blew up. And I started getting referred to do trainings for other practices that were starting, that I did all for free in my office, because I didn't know
Wow.
my worth then, and or my I didn't and it was nice confidence building for me too. And then
Yep.
I grew out of that space, and so moved into the space I'm in now, which is quite bigger. And then I got to the point where I went down on anesthesia days. I had a little mental breakdown last September and was like, I can't juggle all this. I was doing anesthesia full time. I was seeing patients out after anesthesia and then on the weekends, and I was never seeing my kids. And it's just
Yeah.
not what I wanted. I want to be a present parent. So
Hmm.
I got advice from the company I now train for, AMP, and they were like, you have to cut down on your anesthesia days. But I was worried about
Well,
doing that because I was supplementing the business with that income.
yeah, and it's scary too because you're like, well, yeah, I know I need to do that so that I can create more of a personal
Mhm.
life for myself, but also how do I do that as I'm growing the aesthetic practice? And that's
Right.
really scary.
Yeah. And so I did. I came home. I had a sit down conversation with my husband. And I'm very blessed that I do have a good support system was very supportive.
Yeah.
He actually found me the place that we're in now. And I was like, what is wrong with you? You were freaking out about the rent and everything in the small place. This is four times as big and as expensive. And he goes, Danielle, like, you're so passionate about this and you're
Yeah.
good. If we're
Yeah.
gonna do this, let's do it. And
Yeah.
so we did. And I cut down on some anesthesia days. He's like, we'll eat the income temporarily. And I'm glad I did it because when I cut down, it allowed me to grow. And I haven't needed the anesthesia income. Um,
Wow.
and so then I needed help. I needed
Hmm.
staff. So I brought on, staff,
Hmm.
especially with doing the trainings. I needed more help. So I'm currently training another injector under me.
Good for
She'll
you.
turn me with me for a year. She's doing amazing. But I have a very OCD strict.
A full year.
Yeah.
That is really good to hear for anybody who's going to be being injected by her because there are people out there that go to a weekend course or
Yep, there
less
is.
or less and start poking faces, and that is terrifying to me. So I love that she's working with you for a year before you let her go on her own.
And I want to just hit on that point because that
Go for it.
happens more than I like to admit. Yes, I took a thorough course with BFI, but I came home and I was not comfortable. I'm like, after a weekend, or it was a 5 or 4 day thing. I'm not going to go and inject somebody's face. So I did $60,000 worth of trainings my first year. Okay.
Well, no
So
wonder you had to stay working full time.
exactly,
That's so
exactly,
much money for education. But wow, that's
because
amazing.
I wanted to be good.
You wanted to be great.
And yes, and I I
And you
I
are,
didn't
yeah.
want to mess up or be either, like I didn't want to mess up somebody's face. And I wanted to
Yeah.
be excellent at what I did.
Yeah.
So that's why, and I you know, I just poured all into it because I knew that it would come back, or I prayed it would come back to me. So, and it has. I'm still paying off some things, but I have employees. I haven't needed to borrow from our personal funds. Like we're doing good.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
but yeah, I mean, there is something to that. Like you can't just do a weekend course and expect to um, be great at doing this. It does take constant education.
Yeah.
And so, but at some point, you do have to just put on your big girl panties and start injecting faces. And
Yeah.
and start doing the skills that you're learning and implementing what you're learning. And it's terrifying because it's somebody they're going to go to the mirror as soon as they leave your office and look at your work, right? And judge it. So, but like anything in medicine, at some point you have to start implementing what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
it's a little more terrifying as somebody who went on their own and um, decided to open their own business because I had to take what I learned and then like judge myself. But there's a way kind of around that is if you, with doing all these trainings, I then had all these people in my back pocket.
Hmm.
So anytime I had a question, there was somebody I could text or reach out to or call. What do you think?
Oh,
How would
that's
you do this?
so important. That is so important because having a medical director is super helpful as well, and you have to have one, right? But sometimes there are cases, many times maybe, where you need the opinion of more than one person that might be your medical director. So I love that for you.
Yeah. So, and that's what I tell like, when anybody who's newer, I'm like, you're at this conference, put me in your pocket, right? Like
Yeah.
text me. Um, and if I can answer it, I'm going to answer it. All these people you're meeting, put them in your back pocket, use them as resources. We all started somewhere. And that's how you're going to grow because in this, a lot, you can't, as a new grad, oftentimes get a job in this industry. Nobody wants to hire somebody that has no experience in aesthetics.
So
Um,
it's hard because if you want to become an aesthetic injector and you need the experience, you have to find someone that's willing to train you for a year or 6 months or however long, or you have to spend 60K on education or both. So that feels like it could be tricky. I think that it's necessary though, because these are medical procedures.
they are. They're very much so medical procedures that
You have to
are,
know what you're doing.
yeah. I mean, there's some terrifying things out there. And I did exactly that because I felt that way as a
Hmm.
medical provider. And I think I'm a little because I've seen a lot. I sought out somebody for an internship. So I did an internship
Yeah.
for months before I went full in to doing
Yeah.
all the things I'm doing now. I started off with talks while I did internship with her. Then I added
Hmm.
filler. And then once I did a couple months of every day, following this other injector, then I started feeling more confident. Then I got my lasers. Then I started doing more things. And meanwhile, I would go home and I'm watching webinars and I'm taking courses and I'm flying out for a weekend to take, a different course. So, yeah, it all was like kind of like building blocks. But the big thing for me was following an injector really was a game changer for me because I got to see
Yeah.
all aspects like flow, business, everything. And
Yeah. So
it was nice.
that is so cool to hear how you got started. I feel like you did it the right way for whatever that opinion is worth of mine. But how did you decide that you wanted to go out on your own rather than go work for somebody else? And how did you know what modalities you wanted to bring in? Because you're doing something you told me called derma, which I have seen done in person. I've seen the results blown, truly, I've been blown away by what I have seen from that product. How did you know that you are doing the things that you wanted to be doing or what you wanted to bring into the practice?
So, the reason I went on my own, partly one, it's hard to get a job as new. Um, and two, I already, as a CRNA, we have a lot of autonomy, but you're always taking direction, right, from a surgeon.
Yeah.
There's only so much autonomy you get. I wanted something that I could make my own and that I could do and know was being done the correct way.
Hmm.
So I didn't want to have anybody over me telling me how things should be done or telling me how to practice. So that's why I went all in and I took the leap. Also, my husband's first reaction was, I knew this was going to happen because you don't do anything half in. So I guess it's a
And
trend of mine.
did he also say, and I knew that you wouldn't want anyone telling you what to do?
I mean, yeah. So,
That's a good quality though, as the business owner. That's a
yeah.
good quality to have because you have to know, you have to be able to have the guts to make the decisions yourself.
And you have to have the guts to ask for help. So if I ever have a question, and that's something patients constantly tell me, I, in front of them, will make a phone call.
Yeah,
And I don't have any shame in that
that
because
is fantastic.
I don't, the first time I was a little embarrassed, and the person was like, holy cow, that just says a lot about who you are. And she goes, that makes me trust you even more.
I've never heard of anyone in any medical field doing that in front of a patient, let alone medical aesthetics. Literally, and that is amazing.
I actually had somebody I had my colleague and friend Melissa Gibbons FaceTime with me on FaceTime with the patient right there
Yeah, yeah.
as a consult because I needed a second opinion, and um the patient was actually, she came back even today and was just like, the amount of people you've reached out to because she has a lot of medical issues hindering her from getting things done she wants.
Hmm.
It's like incredible. And she actually is like, can I, she ended up doing like a little video testimonial for us today because of it.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm not afraid to ask for help. I'm not embarrassed because then I'll know the answers, right? And then
Yeah,
it's just
then
going
you
to make
will.
me better. Um,
Eventually, nobody, you're going to be like the grand, I don't know what the name is. You're gonna be whoever the smartest person could be in aesthetics because you're literally going to have asked every question possible. And I think that just makes you more powerful.
I don't know about that, but I
You
will
will,
know
you
the
will,
questions.
you will.
Yeah, like
Because
I don't want to have to, I don't know. And there's no shame in, because these people, a lot of these people I reach out to have been doing this a lot longer than me, right? So why am I
yeah,
going to reinvent the wheel? They've seen it either work or not work, and they're gonna be able to direct me on what actually worked and oh, stay away from this because it bit me. And I
yeah.
do that for other people, and it's not like I'm perfect either. I've done things where, oh, I won't be doing that again, and I share that, especially when I'm
It's
teaching.
it's a huge shortcut though that you're taking, which you can do because, personally, I would appreciate your approach much more than using me as trial and error.
Yeah,
I would have absolutely no problem. And I think that that's a great idea to just make the call. Something that I was just thinking of too that I wanted to ask is you've mentioned a couple times like you're not the type of person that doesn't go all in. You do go all into everything that you're doing. And working full time as a CRNA while taking patients after your CRNA job and on the weekends for aesthetics and trying to balance that as you move away from the CRNA field to medical aesthetics, that's not easy. And how many children do you have?
too.
Wow. I we were talking just before the interview started, and I said, I don't think that there's a more difficult, we'll call it a job. It's not a job, a difficult thing that you could do in the world than being a mom. It is the most challenging. There's for so
Mm.
many reasons. If there was one that was harder to do, it's probably being a mom who also owns a business. And so congratulations, Danielle, you're doing both.
Thank you. Some days I'm like barely there, barely, probably I feel like I'm like all over the place. But yeah, I try
Well, how
to.
hard is it though? How hard is it to do what you're doing and travel and be a mom? Like, do you
It,
feel like you're all in on everything, and how are you managing it?
so I I feel like there are weeks, I guess you would say, that where one area is a little like I have to pull back a little bit from one. Or there was a good while where I felt like, man, I'm doing this. I'm juggling it all. I'm just not
Yeah,
sleeping, right? Like I'm not doing anything for me. I'm
yeah.
doing it all, but I'm not doing anything for me. And that will wear on you quickly. And it did. And so
Hmm.
I had to reassess and start being like, okay, it's okay not to be, and this is, I got a lot of help getting to this conclusion. Okay. I won't say that it was natural. It's okay not to be the mom I was before I did this, where I was doing everything. I picked them up. I made sure my CRNA job was done by 3:30. I went and picked them up and I would do an activity with them outside the house. I did bath time. I did bedtime. I read them stories. It was me. My husband would do the housework and yes, he's the cook. I will not cook. He is the cook. So
Yep,
he would do
yep.
those things, right? And when I started doing this, and my daughter was a COVID baby, so she was extremely attached to us to the point that
Hmm.
she got put in therapy for it. So we were still in therapy while I started this. And the therapist actually said this is going to be good for her.
Oh, wow.
So she was
You
3.
working more and
Mhm.
being, wow,
Yeah, so
amazing.
she was 3 and my son was 1. And now they're 3 and 5. So she had a hard time. And my husband, she's like, your husband's gonna have to step up. And he did. And I am very grateful for him for that. Because I know, that's part of my success too, is
Yeah,
knowing that they were okay and they were being taken care of.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but there was some
But
judgment.
even so, judgment,
Right.
you as a mom, I know this is how it works because my wife is the exact same.
Mhm.
Like, I consider myself to be a great dad. I have my part of the routine as well, just like you guys do, as you explained. But it doesn't matter. She's on a cruise right now, and she's texting me multiple times a day. My daughter's with my mom in the other room. She's texting me multiple times a day. She's FaceTiming twice a day. I'm like, babe, it's okay. I have to help her understand that it's okay, even though she's with her father, who literally is working from home and being there with her every single day too. It doesn't matter because you're wired to
Mhm.
worry. You're wired to worry. And I think that I really do just admire so much what you're saying. And even though the therapist tells you, you know, this will be good for your daughter, that definitely brought some sort of relief, at least for the moment, to you.
It
But it's
did.
still
It
hard to
did. It was
hear.
terrifying. I mean, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't leave. I would get anxious leaving the house, and um, I didn't do anything outside the house that didn't include her. If she, was there outside of school, if we were home, I couldn't leave and go like shower. Like she'd freak out, and so it was really hard, but also really good for her. But I'm not, I'm human. And you're exactly right. Like that is how we are wired to be, right? To protect our young. And my husband has used those exact words on me because I'm like, but so I still probably weekly have a little cry about how I feel like I'm not doing enough and I'm not there enough and I'm not being the super mom anymore. And I just have to, my husband said this to me and it was really helpful. He's like, our kids are watching you,
Oh yeah.
right? And they don't realize it now, but one day they're going to realize like what you did and what you built. Um, and our daughter's going to get to watch that and the strength and you juggling and it's being okay that you juggled and and that you were a mom and a good mom when you're there, you're a
Yeah.
great mom. And he's like, and you're a working mom. And he's like, I want our daughter to see that, and she's getting to see that. And it
I
was just
love that.
nice to hear, and then, I building a business, you do have to, it's a lot of work in the beginning. So it's a lot of, I'm missing bath time and dinner time. And I've been struggling with that, but I don't know what else to do, especially training another injector. But I have my eyes on the prize. Like, okay, when she's ready to be released to the wild, I get to have more time with my kids. But,
Yeah.
a friend of mine and a colleague, you know, sat me down recently and was like, okay, so if you pull back a little bit, cut off your day so that you can be home, have dinner, do bath time. What you're losing some money? Sure. It's going to maybe take you a little bit longer, but all we keep, it's really bothering you. So make it a
Hmm.
priority, figure out what your priority is and make it happen. You are the owner. You can make it happen. And I was just like, you're
That's
right.
right. That's right.
And why am I in such a rush? Like, I don't need
Yeah.
to be. So we've started, this week was hard because I came back from the conference, but we were like, okay, a hard fast, like I need to be home by 5:30 to do dinner and bath time.
Hmm.
And trying to maneuver some things with keeping the goals in mind and understanding that some things are going to, sometimes it's medicine, so things go over. But I just had to like, okay, yeah, he's right. Like, this is in my hands. I need to prioritize. And for me, it's my kids. They're first. And then also taking care of myself. So, but it takes, as a business owner, you have to kind of like remind yourself constantly of those things and like do a little reassessment. I'm realizing because you'll get so ahead or like feel like you're behind social media looking at this injector and that injector and what is this person doing and or I don't know the answer to this, so I have to like stay up all night looking and just be like, whoa. And that's what I've realized lately. And that took me a long time to realize. Like, hey, I'll get there. Take a breath.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's important? Why did you do this? Now I did this
But
so that I can have control of my schedule so that when the kids are in sports and stuff, I can take whatever time I need to be at every game and do all those things. And as a CRNA, it's harder to have control of like that. So that's part of the reason I did want to be a business owner and have control over my schedule is so that I can make my schedule what I want to make it around my family. Um,
Danielle, I think you're doing it right. I don't think that you can do it any other way. I don't think that you personally would feel fulfilled. And if anyone's listening and feeling the same way as Danielle, you won't feel fulfilled just doing one thing. You have to balance it like this. There is no other way because this is just what it takes. But when we're old and when your daughter is 30, 40 years old, has children of her own, if she does, maybe she will realize how amazing you were as a mom. Explain to her too, but there will be a moment, I believe, that when she's trying to be a working mom too, she comes to you and just realizes, oh my gosh, what a mom. What a mom I have.
yeah,
It's
I
going to
mean,
happen.
for those people out there, like you're like my 5-year-old, just because she literally says you're never home anymore, and it killed me, right? But
Oof.
I also talk to her like a lot, a lot as an adult, and I'll tell her like, "Hey, mommy had, I'm training somebody new so that I can be home more." Like, I tell her everything, and I was like, I hope like you're proud of mommy, or like I'm gonna go teach like in front of all, and I'll tell her and try to involve her. I'm like, what do you think I should do, or you know just to include her and like I'll bring sometimes she comes to the office, and
Yeah.
but it's hard. So just day at a time, but and then the reminder to be present when you are there, put the phone down, don't be
Yep.
which
Yep.
is something I struggled with. I was still answering patients and or the staff's questions while I was there with the kids and I having to put the phone down was
Yep.
huge and not
Yep.
being afraid to like talk to your colleagues about this like when I opened up to my colleagues and they were like, oh, yep, yep, and then hearing that I'm not alone was also helpful,
Yep. I
so
agree. Danielle, I feel like you are going to continue to be, as you have been, a huge resource for people to be able to just bond with and soundboard and things. How do people connect with you that are looking for training or just friendship and camaraderie in the space? Is it through Instagram? Would that be the best way?
Yeah, usually that's the best way.
Okay.
And my handle is lore aesthetics underscore DL. And I usually will, I answer questions. I'll usually give you my personal number on there
Love
if you
it.
need more.
Love it.
But yeah, this is definitely not for the faint of heart, and you just got to take things day by day. But it's a very rewarding industry.
I
It is.
love it. I love it. Danielle, thank you for your time today. Thank you for, we know how busy you are, and for squeezing this in. It really means a lot.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. And everybody, thank you for listening. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you soon.